Hey folks, Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Coming here with another review. We're doing a versus comparison between the new AT&T.com's LG G Flex. This is a new phone that's just come out. It's the curved phone, if you've seen them, and it also does some flexing and some other neat things that we'll show you. And we have the Apple iPhone 5S, the latest Apple product out on the market. We're going to be doing a versus comparison between these two, so you can kind of see which one might work better for you. Check out AT&T.com, our good friends. Thanks to them for sharing the phones with us with the fastest download and upload speeds. And be sure to check out the LG G Flex and all the other phones on their website. So let's take a look at these two different devices. Now you can see one is definitely a lot bigger than the other one. Definitely an interesting advantage of one or the other when it comes to size. For the LG Flex on the left-hand side, it's running the Android 4.2.2. And on the iPhone 5S, you're looking at the iOS 7, I believe 7.04 is what we're running on this. On the LG G Flex, we're looking at a size of 6.32 inches in height, 3.21 inches in width, and 0.31 inches in thickness. It's got a weight of 6.24 ounces and 177 grams. On the iPhone 5S, you're looking at 4.87 in height, 2.31 in width, and 0.30 inches in thickness. The weight on it is 3.95 ounces or 112 grams. Now, super big difference. It's pretty obvious to those of you watching right now. It's got a 6-inch screen on the LG G Flex. Just a huge screen. It's a 720p screen. I was kind of bummed out it wasn't 1080p, but I got to tell you, at 6 inches, it's still beautiful to look at. It's got a 245 ppi, which is pixels per inch, and a 16.7 million color screen. Which most everyone does nowadays when it comes down to it. Let's take a look at the Apple iPhone 5S. It's got a 4-inch screen, so a whole 2-inch difference here. 640 by 1136 pixels at 326 ppi. It's got also a 16.7 million color screen, so there you have it. Now, on the camera for the LG G Flex, it has a very good, I'm very impressed with it, 13 megapixel camera. It will also do camcorder 1080p up to 60 frames per second. It will also shoot in 4K, which is pretty darn cool. So we'll show you that here in a bit. It also has a front-facing camera, 2.1 megapixels. Now, the iPhone 5S has a camera of 8 megapixels and front-facing camera 1.2 megapixels. It will record up to 120 frames per second at 720p for slow motion video, of course, and it also does up to 1080p at 30 frames per second, which is important. On the LG G Flex, you're looking at a Qualcomm Snapdragon 800, some of the latest that are out from Qualcomm for the Android product. It's got a quad-core 2.26 gigahertz processor with 2 gigabytes of RAM, 32 gigabytes of storage. On the Apple 5S, you're looking at the Apple A7. It's got a 64-bit architecture chip in it. It's got a dual core with 1.3 gigahertz and 1 gigabyte of RAM, 16 gigabytes of built-in storage. One big difference between these two devices, there's NFC technology in the Android product, the LG G Flex. There is not in the Apple iPhone. You're starting to see more products that are coming out now with the NFC chips in them and the ability to use them much like Bluetooth to broadcast music and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how this pairs out. Now, the battery that is on the LG G Flex is huge. It's probably the hugest thing ever. It's 3,500 milliamp hours. That's just freaking insane in the amount of hours that are on it that you can take and utilize for your devices. To give you an example, the difference you're looking at on the iPhone 5, only 1,570. So the LG G Flex beats it by almost double and then some, which is pretty freaking crazy when it comes down to it. And those are pretty much the big differences between the two. Both have sealed cases, do not have expandable memory, unless on the iPhone you buy higher memory units, 1632, 64, and I believe it goes all the way up from there. The case on the LG G Flex is pretty much just sealed. So there you have it. Let's take a look at both these units. Now, Of course, they're very different in the OSs. A lot of people separate on those, but we'll just take a look at the bodies for now. Up top, we have the front-facing camera, the speaker. We have a capacitive touchscreen for your home button, your back button, and your recent apps button or menu button. So over here, we have just pretty much a home button. You have the new fingerprint technology where you can use your fingerprint to be able to utilize it with the iPhone 5S. Pretty simple and easy to do. Let's flip these babies back over. Now, here's one of the most predominant things you're going to notice with the LG Flex. It curves. Very interesting, huh? It curves, and we'll show you some different aspects of it. But the one thing that I do like about the curving is it seems a little bit more ergonomically natural. When I hold this in my hand as opposed to my Note 3, because it curves towards me, it seems to just be leaning in more to me. If you really think about it, when you're holding like a Note 3 or something, it's moving away from you on the screen. It also kind of feels and looks a whole lot better when you're looking at the screen this way. It kind of feels like you have this big screen in front of you, kind of like the movie theater, if you will. So I tend to like it. The other great thing is it fits in your pocket and it curves very well to the dimensions of your body. And of course, it's designed to flex, which we'll get into. Now, on the LG G Flex, the back is designed to have a kind of sort of scratch-proof self-healing back. So it's got some chemical nature to it where if you scratch it very lightly, it will tend to heal itself. Although many people on deep scratches have noticed they don't really heal. They kind of just end up looking a little bit better. But there's still, if you look really closely, you'll still see stuff. It's kind of a gimmick in nature, kind of interesting. Maybe it'll be cool as future phones come out. But it's also probably designed to flex a little bit. Now, one thing that's really unique about the G Flex LG is that it's a little different than most phones. It actually has a power button right here in the back and a volume rocker button right here. And where most phones that are coming out from Android now have an IR blaster somewhere in the top, they put the IR blaster here. We also have the flash unit in your camera eye, of course, in the back, speaker in the back. So it's really interesting that they've done this. Now, on one hand, it's kind of cool to be able to hold the phone and you can work the buttons you need to for volume up and down. The problem is you end up putting your finger a lot on the camera, which is kind of a downside. You're just having to clean the camera. But it's no big deal. You know, you can live with it. You just learn eventually where all the buttons are. On the back of the iPhone, we have the camera eye, we have a small microphone hole, and we have the flash, the dual sort of flash that's supposed to make things shoot a whole lot better. Let's take a look at both these. On the top, of course, with the LG G Flex, we have a small microphone hole, power button for the iPhone. For the right side of both of them, not much to see here. There's a small SIM card tray for the iPhone 5S. On the LG, we have the earphone jack in the bottom. We also have a microphone hole and a charge sync port. And then same thing with the iPhone. We have the speakers with a small charge sync port and then the earphone jack on the far side. Volume rocker, I'm sorry, not a volume rocker. There is no volume rocker. I'm too used to Androids. There's a small SIM card tray here. And then on the iPhone, you have your volume up and down buttons and a mute switch. So that's very different. Let's set this aside for now and take a look at the aspects of what are supposed to be the G Flex. So the back is supposed to be scratch resistant. You can press this down and it pops back into place with a relatively easy amount of pressure. What it's designed to do is, you know, if you sit on it on the couch, it bends in your purse, it bends in your wherever you may have it. It's designed to take or absorb a little bit of shock. Now, I'm sure there's a pressure point here that we can probably push it to and break it if we wanted to, but that's not really the idea. The idea is to just kind of preserve the phone as best you can, the way you can. So let's go and put these back up on the stands. And of course, there's so many different aspects to the OSs for both these devices, and it really just comes down to what OS you like and what works best for you. There's a lot of cool things on the LG G Flex that are very unique. It has what's called Q-Slide, where you can have different apps that will run over the top of your screen. You can adjust the opacity of them so that you can do different things, work around them, etc., etc. Basically multitask with the screen. There also is a multitask bar where you can do multitasking and everything else. There's also wireless storage on here where you can broadcast storage. There's also a quick remote where you can easily adjust the IR blaster to be able to give you remote access and all that good stuff. Lots of really cool stuff that they put into this that you don't really get with the iOS, and that's why many people like the Android product. You have different widgets and customizable features of the Android where you're pretty much limited on iOS to the basics of iOS and what iOS wants to take in, do, and Apple seems to keep a good hard control on that and everything else. Okay, so here we have the Geekbench 3 scores between these two devices. You can see here that the LG G Flex scored 882 single-core score versus the iPhone 1440 single-core score, 2194 multi-core score versus 2564 on the score on the iPhone 5S. Okay, so let's take a look at both these cameras. Now, of course, the camera is much better that's in the LG G Flex, especially from what I've seen. It will do 4K video up to 13 megapixels, and it takes incredible images. One thing that's really interesting that I've never seen an Android phone before yet is their focusing menu. It has crosshairs now, much like you would find in a DSL camera sort of thing. Let's see if we can't get that to replicate itself. While we're here in the menu, let's pull out and we'll see if we can, there it goes. I saw it for a second there. If you saw the crosshairs that came up in the camera. And basically what the crosshairs will do is find different points of focus, which is really neat. And I'm very impressed by. There's some different mode features where you can get different looks, much like the Samsung thing. And now even the iPhone has it. You can see here you can adjust lots of different things with this, including the autofocus, color balances, the image size, etc., etc. With the video, you're looking at a whole different bunch of stuff that you can take and do, including Ultra HD up to 4K video recording, which is pretty much the future of where things are going. So definitely some awesome stuff there. We were super impressed with the flash that's on the device. It took really good pictures in a completely dark, blacked out settings. You can see here we're doing some video in the washroom and it's completely blacked out. Did a great job with the flash lamp on it and everything else. Took really good video for us of, you can see there the dogs. The colors are very rich in the pictures that it took and we're very impressed with it. I actually really like the video and the pictures we got off it. I'm very impressed with it as a camera. So there's that aspect of it. You can see some of the other photos that we got. I'm not sure how much this really transposes through to you in the quality, but we got really good photos and we really like the LG's camera. The Apple camera makes a good camera. There's some different aspects about it. You can have slow-mo now, video, photo, square mode, and pano mode. You can also take and use several different filters, if you will, that are built into the unit. Other than that, it's pretty tight on its controls. You've got HDR on off, you've got front facing whatever. You don't have the white balance controls and other elements that you're going to have with the Android phones, where you pretty much work them like you can a normal phone. I do like this swipe thing, which is very cool and easy to control the camera. And of course, the pictures that get taken with the iPhone 5 are very good. This isn't one of them. Of course, this is on the front side. You can see here a really close-up picture that we're taking of something. Looks like we have a few other things. Oh, there's a pizza. And so the camera does a really good job on the iPhone 5S and is by no means a poor camera, but I think there's much more richness and better quality from what I saw in video and photos on the LG G Flex. Okay, so all in all, I like both phones. Both phones are great phones. It really just comes down to what fits your needs. A lot of women might not like the LG G Flex because it's very big, but I gotta tell you, it's very big and beautiful. On the iPhone, it's much smaller on the screen, and you do trade the beautiful screen that you can find on the LG G Flex with something that may fit into your smaller hand, if more appropriately. It's really up to you and what might work best for you, but go to see our good friends at AT&T.com. That's AT&T.com. Tell them Chris Voss sent you for the LG G Flex and all the other wonderful products. AT&T with the fastest download and upload speeds. And also we have the Apple iPhone 5S. You can check that out at apple.com or your local Apple store. Thanks to everyone for working with us, and give us a like, subscribe to us on YouTube. Be sure to check in often to the chrisvossshow.com. We'll be doing a ton of comparison reviews between both these phones, and you want to see them all. Thanks for coming by.